a lot of times when people go, to a web form and they see 5 or 10 fields they have to fill out, they just think I'll do that later. I'll go click on another page, and they'll bounce around the website or they'll just leave. But the bot, starts a conversation, and it's one step at a time, and it just draws, before you know it, it's done, and they've submitted, in the end, more information than they would have if they just filled out a web form.
Hi, this is Arnav from the DARS team. This is our latest episode of the DARS Conversation series, where we speak to a different bot creator from around the DARS bot making world every single week about how they're generating value using chatbots, and about the sorts of problems they face on a day-to-day basis with their clients and how they tackle those problems. This week on the episode, we have Mike McGreevy. Mike, why don't you take it away and tell us a bit about yourself?
Hey, thanks, Arnav. So I run a small agency. I'm pretty much a one-man show. I outsource to some contractors here and there. But overall, I have a handful of clients that I work with on a long-term basis to help them with digital marketing strategy and Facebook ads and messaging and copywriting and kind of coaching and consulting with the business owner around sales strategy as well. So I just have a long background with sales and marketing, and finally got to a point where I went out on my own and help people solve problems and grow their business. Typically a small business, I'm dealing directly with the owner.
Got it. And could you give us a sense of who your customers are? What do they look like? What sorts of companies do you generally deal with? I know you mentioned small businesses. What's their team size generally?
Yeah, so usually it's somebody anywhere from maybe 3 to 10 people on their team. Right now I have a couple of high-end, high-producing real estate agent teams that sell about 100 homes a year or more each, and and then I have a moving company, a construction company, a couple other smaller clients that I have just a bot running for or things like that. But my main business is helping people kind of figure out how to do the marketing side of their business, which I feel like is everything. So I'm usually helping that business owner see what the customer sees, from the first time they see you online until after they're a happy customer. How do we follow up with them? Everything from the beginning to the end, to me, is marketing, and I'm just helping them to get their brain wrapped around that so that every touch point can be shaped to build their brand, elevate their brand, their position in the marketplace, and just build a connection with the customer. So yeah, typically small business. It doesn't really, I'm not a niche business like agency necessarily, but more concerned about I like working with business owners that really want to grow. They're in a position to grow, and they're open to new ideas, because I have a lot of new ideas, and are willing to give up some of the freedom, or give me some of that freedom to run with some of those ideas. And
sure,
that's not everybody. So those are my kind of clients.
Got it. You actually shared a URL with us to one of your clients' websites where you're running a bot. So we might actually take a minute or two to show that to the listeners. So could you tell us a little bit about this client, maybe?
Yeah, this is a kind of like a mostly residential, I would call it a construction company. It's really, they just work with concrete. So if you have a sidewalk or a driveway that is sinking down, they'll go in and drill holes into it and pump it up from underneath with all natural material. It's limestone, and so it provides a great solution for a homeowner who has some concrete that doesn't look too great, or it's cracking and you want to patch it up. And so they've got a great service, and they're a nationwide company. And they also do corporate, airports and large company parking lots and things like that. So it's not all residential, but mainly they're looking for people to come to their site. They do a bunch of other advertising, so they've got a good amount of traffic coming to their site.
Got it.
And before I met them, they were using mainly just a regular lead form, web form, where you just got to fill out, 5 fields or something, and trying to get leads for people that want to set up an estimate, a free estimate, and
Right.
that's their main driver of business. So that's kind of what they do.
And I see that now you're using a chatbot over here, and this is for lead generation, I presume?
Yep. I mean, I would call it lead capture, not really lead generation,
Got
but
it.
it's because their advertising and marketing is generating a lead, the people to visit the site, and then this is capturing a lead, and sending an email to them. When somebody fills out the entire form inside the bot, only then does it send them an email
Right.
to say, hey, you've got a lead waiting for you. They're expecting to be called in 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever. And so, yeah, it's done really well. They've really enjoyed it. It does its job. I really love it.
What sorts of value do the customers see out of a bot like this? I know on our side, when we talk to a lot of our customers, a lot of bot creators like you, there's a whole bunch of different sources of value, especially for a small business. There's sort of the automation play where you're helping them save time by automating the customer interaction. There's also the conversion rate play where you're helping them increase their form fill rate. So what sort of value are they seeing out of a bot like the one we just saw?
Yeah, I think probably the main thing is that it turns more visitors into leads. A lot of people come to their site, and there's a lot of things to learn. There's all kinds of links and pages to go to, and that bot's right there in the corner. And a lot of times when people go, to a web form and they see 5 or 10 fields they have to fill out, they just think, I'll do that later. I'll go click on another page, and they'll bounce around the website, or they'll just leave. But the bot, starts a conversation, and it's one step at a time, and it just before you know it, it's done, and they've submitted, in the end, more information than they would have if they just filled out a web form. Because
Out
I've
of
got
curiosity, do you have a sense of why that might be the case? Why people are more likely to fill out the bot? We try to figure that out all the time at ours, and we haven't really nailed down one particular reason. There are several of them, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, well, I remember the first time I interacted with a chatbot myself, and I think the biggest reason is it's more fun. It feels more human, and we
Yeah,
are human, and we want connection, and we're more likely to interact with a conversation or something that feels more like a conversation than a standard form that is just a transaction. There's no relationship at all. So
right,
that just humanity of it, the fact that there's motion, there's animation, there's, the typing, it feels like you're talking to a friend.
right,
Because all of our time is spent texting and on messaging apps. So, that's the only time we're in those apps is when we're talking to people we know and trust.
right,
So when this comes up, it evokes those same emotions. It's the same context. So, whereas a web form is like doing your taxes. It's like the worst thing in the world.
right,
So nobody wants that. And
right,
it's just purely transactional. So, and it's one step at a time in the bot. I think that's a separate reason. There's no, I don't know. You see a web form and you just see all the work you have to do. But in a bot, there's one step in front of you. You just take that step, and then
right,
another one pops up, and it doesn't feel overwhelming.
right.
So, for me, that's what I experienced the first like 10 seconds
Sure.
I ever saw a bot, and that's what hooked me. I'm like, I got to do this.
Right.
So, and that's why I think people fill them out. They fill out more information in a bot than they would on a form.
Right.
I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yep. No, I'm in agreement with you. I
Yeah.
think that anyone who's in the bot game, especially in marketing, has had a similar experience to you.
Yeah.
I know I have when I first used a bot. That there's a lot of bad bots out there that don't function well. But when I used a bot for the first time that actually got what I was trying to do done, I definitely had that sort of aha moment where I realized that it was exactly the same thing as a form
Yeah.
in terms of the effect, but it it felt very different just because of the medium through which the activity was being done, which is
Yeah.
chat interface. Now, out of curiosity, are you tracking any of these metrics that you're are you using any metrics to track the value that you're offering to your customers? Maybe that's a better
Uh,
way to put it.
yeah. I mean, well, the cool thing is TARS tracks it all, right? So
Right.
every time I have a meeting with like this client you brought up on the screen, um, it's pretty low maintenance client. The bot works really well. So like whenever we do have a meeting, I'll pull up that data in the TARS platform and just extract how many visitors, how many people like open the bot.
Yep.
Because when you clicked on that little bot in the corner, that was what I would call a visitor.
Sure.
They opened it, right? And then there are people who, I can track through TARS, how many people engaged and began a conversation, like actually started answering the questions and doing that. And then how many people actually filled out the whole thing and became a lead.
Right.
So I've got visitors to conversations to leads. The conversion rates are pretty good. And so those are some main things that I'm tracking. I'm also tracking the data that I'm collecting.
Got it.
Because I'm collecting, one of the questions I ask later in that conversation there is, how did you hear about us, right? Which is a question most companies
Yep.
like to ask. And so, I've got all these answers listed, in a spreadsheet of and I count up and bucket them into categories. So for this particular client, I'm able to tell how many people were referred by a friend, how many people said that they were repeat customers, how many people said they saw the print ad they're running.
So is that what you sent me a couple of slides earlier? Is that
Yeah.
what we're seeing in these slides over here?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the slide there where I show them hey, this many people, 825 people opened the bot. So they at least thought it was cool enough in the past 12 months to click on it. And then, 44% of those people had a conversation with it.
Right.
And, and 219 of them ended up filling out the whole thing. So,
right. And then this, I guess, is the referrals that you were mentioning. So you partitioned that response, how they found out about the company.
Right. Yeah. And this is what's cool here because this is like, people are in a hurry, right? They're filling out a questionnaire. You ask them, how did you hear about us?
Right.
They don't always remember, but whatever they wrote in that field, 160 of those 219, they said something related to internet, Google, ads that you're running, stuff. The bottom line is that big category in that pie chart is those are all leads that the company is spending money to attract.
Right.
Because they're either coming from Google or they're coming from print ads. So that's all stuff they're spending money on. The other ones, the repeat business and the referrals, those are free leads, right? Those, they're not spending money to get those. So I see that as the opportunity right there. Let's double down, because what they're not doing is they're not running any follow-up email campaigns.
Right.
They're not nurturing their past customers. So we have an opportunity to grow the referral base and increase the number of repeat customers.
Got it.
And we know that through the bot, through the data that came in on the bot.
So I'd be curious to know, this is a great example of how you are sort of showcasing the value of the bot and showcasing the value that you're offering in general to your customers once they're already your customers. But when you start out with these customers, how do you generally pitch the idea of a chatbot to them? Because I know for a lot of small businesses, they maybe heard of the technology before, but they're always a little apprehensive to try something new, especially when it's as new and as radically different as a chatbot.
Yeah. Well, I think for TARS bots, I've sold messenger chatbots too, but for these TARS bots, I think the last three, including this one that we're talking about, I kind of showed it to them as just I built out a very simple sample bot. Yeah. So I stole their logo off the internet and put it into a bot, and just basically looked on their website and saw what is their current lead capture system. And I asked some similar questions, but I did it in a more creative way, and, built a 4 or 5 question bot out, which took me minutes. And then I can send that link to my phone. And then when I'm sitting with the client or I'm on the video call with them, I can just send them the link and they can interact with it. And they have that same experience that I was talking about earlier, where they're like, wow, they can feel there's like a human connection there. It's more fun. They see their logo in it. And almost every time their response is like, I want this,
Right.
Because it's just intuitive. Like, this is better than a web form. So, so there's really no pitch. It's just like, here's the thing I built. I want you to see it, and imagine somebody, I give them the context, imagine somebody comes to your site, what do they do now? They've filled this form. Okay. How many of those leads are coming in through that form? And, here's an alternative way to capture those leads, and I just let them experience it. And, everybody loves it. So for this type of business where you're trying to get leads or estimates or something like that, it's pretty simple.
Right. That's interesting, because we've actually used that exact same strategy. We've gone to conferences ourselves, and when we sort of pitch the bots to organizations, it's usually organizations which aren't too tech savvy. So, for example, local governments. When we say the idea of a chatbot to them in words, they don't completely understand it. But when we show them an example of a chatbot that they can use and interact with, it always clicks in their mind immediately.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something we can relate to. So I take it you don't actually pitch the conversion rate value that they eventually do see in those initial pitches. That's something that comes later.
If you need to, I mean, like I said, if they're interested, if they need to be convinced, I could, do that. But I'm not big on convincing people. Like, I could tell them, like, look, this is going to get better, better conversion rates than a web form. But I don't make promises like that if I don't know, because every industry is different. Maybe it won't happen like that. It hasn't, it's not always the same. So I'd rather under promise and over deliver. And, it doesn't take much to put that bot on the site and test it out and, and see what happens. That's, if I had a lot more clients with, bigger case studies with this particular type of bot, maybe I would throw in a couple case studies, but I haven't needed to do that. And, but I would, I'd say, hey, here's the kind of conversion rates, but they care about their business, not everybody else's. So, I'm confident about it. And I think that comes through when I talk to them. So it's not a hard sell.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the interacting with the bot. It's the intangible feeling of interacting with the bot that gets them, not really the.
Yeah. And I call it a chat form.
We also think about it in those terms a lot. We call them conversational forms.
Conversational form. Yeah. I've read your newsletters. I use what you guys tell me to use. Like, the word bot, sometimes people feel weird about it. So.
Right. Yeah. So do you have any tips for anyone out there because I know a lot of the people who are going to be listening to this, you mentioned our newsletter, we send this out to our newsletter, and we know that a lot of our readers are in your position where they are sort of one-man shows doing marketing for smaller businesses. Are there any tips you can give them other than what you've already told us on this call about how they can better sell chatbots to their clients?
Well, I'll give you like 2 tips. One is if you just find a company that has a website and look at the tabs on their website and look at, what would a potential customer do on their site.
Right.
It's the map is already provided for you by looking at their site of how to build the chatbot. What things are in their lead generation, their lead capture form that, are valuable, and what additional things do you think they would love to capture, but they don't, because as we all know, when you have more fields in a form, like the less you get lower conversion rates because people don't want to fill out 10 fields. They'd rather fill out 2 fields.
Right.
So, what are some more valuable questions you'd like to ask, they'd like to ask potential customers. You could put those in the chat form in the bot, and that'll help get people excited about it. And that's just to like intro them. I mean, I'll end up redoing the whole thing after I talk to them more, learn about their business. But another tip would be, when I first got into bots, I got really excited about what could be done with a bot,
Right.
because there's so many things that you can do. There are so many, like for this client we just talked about on here, they have all of this educational information on their website. And so I built out this huge bot with these long streams of opportunities to like learn everything about the company and the history of the company and the materials they use and everything. And what I found out was that people don't care about any of that stuff. If they do, they might go read the website. But in a chat bot, in this chat bot anyway, they want to like get it done. They want to have the conversation and be done. They're not really interested, and this data showed me this, like almost everyone who went into those streams to learn more, they ended up dying off and not becoming leads because it was going into something that wasn't what they really wanted. And so I just disconnected those portions of the bot and made it just a lead capture bot. So, and the conversions went up because people only had like one choice, and it was to sign up for an estimate. And they did it. So
right.
My point here is like, there's a lot we can do with bots, but we're marketers and we're excited about what can be done. The customers, they're not as excited about all that as we are. So they just kind of want to get whatever they want done as quickly as possible in an efficient way that's fun. And I would encourage people, the way I build bots now, I start out with a minimum viable product, the way we all learn, and then I can build out on it if I want. But usually the minimum one is good enough. Just get one job done, and depends on the client. But that's the biggest lesson I've learned. Instead of spending hours building out a huge bot, just make a simple bot, use it, learn from it, and then grow from there. So.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. We found this out the hard way ourselves at TARS. The lead generation bot on our website, we added a bunch of really complex flows that we thought would wow the customers coming to our site. And it resulted in a conversion rate that was actually 0. We were converting 0 leads because it was so convoluted. And we removed all of the fluff, and we just kept the core lead generation flow within the bot, and it worked out much better. People were actually filling out the bot, booking meetings with us, and we were getting more leads.
Yeah.
That's definitely an issue that you see with a lot of bots out there. Like some of the bad bot experiences that I was talking about before, I'm sure you can relate to this. They try to do too much. They sort of give you that that broad question in the beginning, like, what can I help you with? And when they inevitably can't help the customer with something that they want, some very specific query, the customer gets frustrated, and it's a lose-lose for everyone. The person who made the bot loses, the person who's interacting with the bot loses. So I think we're near the end.
I got one more thing. One of the biggest things I think the clients have, kind of said to me is that they see this as a website chatbot. It's an opportunity to leverage the marketing dollars they're already spending on print and billboards and everything else and Google ads. Yes, some of that turns into phone calls and everything, but they're already spending money. This helps amplify the impact of all of those other marketing dollars. It's not another add-on thing. It's something that amplifies what they're already doing because they're driving traffic to their site. You're optimizing that website to capture leads, and it's essentially an amplification of every dollar they're already spending. It's not rather than an additional separate thing,
Got it. So it's like a sort of CRO add-on to your website. It sort of supercharges your website's ability to convert leads. And on that note, I'd actually be curious to know, we usually do this to end our conversations in this series. Are there any particular features within the TARS builder that have stood out to you as being particularly helpful for your workflow or in terms of delivering value to your customers that you think others should know about?
Um, I mean, I love the personalization, like how you can, once they give you their name, that you can start using their name in the bot. So it really makes it customized.
Right.
Uh, and I know that's might be becoming more common with a lot of other chatbots, but it's not everywhere. And if you've read How to Win Friends and Influence People, you know that the greatest sound anyone can hear is their own name, right? So,
Right.
like, it's an opportunity to actually immediately build the connection. I'm all about human connection with the marketing that I do, the videos I make, the bots, everything. It's just if you can build a human connection, you are raising your position in that customer's mind at the trust, on the trust level. So that's what comes to mind first. But I mean, I don't know, like everything. I just love how it integrates with Zapier, and there's so many things you can do with it, and so many places you can put the bot. Facebook ads, emails. Like, it's just an incredibly versatile tool. So I don't know, man. I don't know what.
That's good to hear. I
Yeah,
will pass those
yeah,
compliments along to our tech team. And with that, I think we are done with the conversation. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. I'll probably leave your social media handles somewhere around this video so that people can follow you,
yeah.
and a link to your website. Um, but that's it for this episode. I hope you guys got some value out of listening um, to what Mike had to say about chatbots. I know I did, even though I've been in this space for a couple of years now. That's it for today. Join us again next week.
Thanks.